This meeting could make your year, maybe even make your career. And when you first set this meeting, your confidence was so high, you knew that you had what it takes for a successful outcome. Then the clock starts ticking. The date gets closer. And that little voice inside your head starts asking you, are you really good enough? Questioning your readiness and ability. And you realize your confidence was so high for a while, and then you feel like, oh no, now my confidence is tanked. Well, here's the good news. If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. And it gets even better because I'm here to help people, and that's one of my missions, is to help people turn those type of disempowering situations around. Welcome to the Secrets to Captivating Confidence. 3 costly mistakes that may be keeping you from winning and dominating the confidence game. When you think about confidence, I've been a long-time mental performance coach. And one of the things that I would tell athletes is, I did a lot of hitting instruction in baseball and softball specifically. And I would always tell them, you know what? Mechanics comes in third. Oh yeah, I teach mechanics, but the number one thing is confidence. Confidence. May I tell you why though? Why I'm so passionate about helping people with their confidence breakthroughs? The reason really is because most people when they look at me, they think that I've always been confident. That it's always been easy for me. That isn't the case at all. In fact, for most of my adult life, I felt like a failure. My brain would tell me how I'd never accomplished anything significant in my life. It's like a 24-hour-a-day radio station broadcasting in my head all of my flaws, faults, and failures. When you looked at me, nobody would know that I was constantly thinking that I wasn't good enough, educated enough, or talented enough. My brain would bully me into believing those negative thoughts and tell me I'd never accomplished anything significant in my life. My lack of confidence was running my life. Every business venture I undertook was a failure. I would sometimes look at myself in the mirror and I would say, what have you ever done? But you know, deep down I felt like I always had the ability for great achievement. And I even had people tell me so. I had such loyalty and praise from the many athletes that I worked with and their parents. Yet I would still feel inadequate. My most difficult moment was when I realized that I wasn't setting a good example for my kids. Even though I knew that they loved me, I felt like I wanted to do something and step out and do something significant to make them proud of me. I wanted to make my kids proud of me. I am no doubt so proud of them. But I wanted to do something significant to make them proud of me. But you know, sometimes in our lives we get the help that we need from unexpected situations or sources, don't we? I was at a meeting and this young lady came up to me and she said, Todd, you're going to do great things. You have that it factor. And when she said that to me, it caused me to remember that I had heard similar praise before. But something clicked this time. This time it hit me like a ton of bricks. That's the first chapter in my book. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized that she was right, and I knew that it was time that I did something about it. So I invested in myself. I learned as much as I could. I became a voracious reader, and I still am today. And interestingly, I started taking my own advice. The very same advice that I was teaching my athletes and helping turn them into high performers. I started listening to what I was telling them. The results was I changed my reality. And I amplified my potential through boosting my confidence, and my success began to soar. And I knew that I needed to do what it is like I'm doing here today, because I knew that there were other people out there like me who were tired of not believing that they're good enough. Now I coach and help individuals and teams and businesses on how to succeed mentally with belief, confidence, and action. Rich, can you and Michael maybe help pass these out? There's quite a few people here. This is impressive. Let me keep one. I hope I printed it up. So before we get to the 3 costly mistakes, as they're passing those out, the 3 costly mistakes that may keep you from mastering the confidence game, let's talk about confidence itself for just a minute. It's interesting, whether you call it lack of confidence, performance anxiety, fear of failure, the chances are for many of you, it's cost you dearly in your life. What have you missed out on, and what opportunities have you missed because of a lack of confidence? When you think about it, we're all confident about certain things in our lives. Sure, we're all confident about certain things, but there may be areas of our life where we need a confidence breakthrough. What you have to determine is, and this is the first, did everybody get one? I hope I printed it. So if I didn't, I'm sorry. The first blank is, a confidence breakthrough may be needed if lack of confidence affects something that is important to you. So here's an example. I have 0 confidence, no confidence whatsoever in my ability to scuba dive down 150 feet. But guess what? I don't care. I'm not a scuba diver. I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. But based on what I'm doing and my mission with my book and getting out and helping young people as well, if it was a problem for me to get up and speak in front of a group of people and bigger stages and bigger audiences, well, I might need a confidence breakthrough there. Wouldn't you agree? So a confidence breakthrough may be needed if lack of confidence affects something that is important to you. So we're all confident in certain things. Again, I mean, some things you're so confident in, you don't even give it a second thought. You're probably perfectly confident in your ability to use that knife and fork to eat a steak. Walk up and down a flight of stairs. Operate your vehicle. You weren't always confident about those things. But you've just been doing them for so long now that it just comes as second nature. So we're all confident, and we can all have confidence challenges as well. Again, what you have to determine, is it important to you? So let's get to the 3 costly mistakes. Costly, we're going to count backwards from 3 to 1. Okay, with number 1 being the biggest costly mistake. Costly mistake number 3 is excessive E. Let's write in the letter E. Now, I'll tell you in a moment what the letter E stands for. But let me ask you, E. Do you have a mind that's constantly critical and is never satisfied? Always pressing for more? Are you fearful of making mistakes? The E stands for expectations. Excessive expectations. Now, I'm not just talking about high expectations. I believe that we should have high expectations and to expect the best. That's good. I'm talking about when it goes off the chart into excessive. You may know it as perfectionism. Or you may call yourself a perfectionist. Perfectionism is a trap. Trying or expecting yourself to be perfect or your work to be perfect is a trap. It's a trap. Now, when I say that, I feel like the fish face guy with the over-the-top dangling skin tags from Star Wars. It's a trap. Admiral Akbar, is that it? Yeah, okay. All right. So perfection. We all deal with perfectionist tendencies at times in our lives where our mind is never satisfied. But what you need to do is disconnect, what I call disconnect from those perfectionist thoughts and the thinking that you need to be perfect in what you do. How do you disconnect? I'll get to that in just a minute. So, excessive expectations. Costly mistake number 2 is fixation with F. The letter F. Fixation with F. Now, I don't know where your mind is going with that. Dan told me to say that.
Oh.
No, but bring it back to me. The F is for fixation or preoccupation with fear. Fear. Fixation with fear. Now, it's interesting when you think about fear. What did we learn when we were kids? That fear is something bad, right? I mean, you're afraid that there's a monster under your bed, or there's something in the closet, or you're afraid of the dark, and your big brother says what? Don't be stupid. There's no such thing as monsters. Quit being a wimpy baby. There's no reason to be afraid of the dark. There's no reason to be afraid. Grow up. What's the message that we receive? That feeling fear or being afraid is stupid, a sign of weakness, or completely unnecessary. In my coaching, I deal a lot with this, and myths like these that hold people back all the time about fear. Here's one of them. Fear is a sign of weakness. No. Fear impairs performance. No. One of the biggest myths that I come across is that fear is what holds you back. No. It is not fear that holds you back. It is your attitude towards your fear is what holds you back. You see that the tighter that you hold on to the thought and the belief that fear is something bad and that you can't do what you want to do or the things that are most important to you until it goes away, the more stuck you will be. Top performers learn to accept their fear and channel it into their performance. Because here's an important thing to know and remember. Confidence is not the absence of fear. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is a revolutionized relationship with it. It is nothing to be afraid of. Because when you hold on to that thought, what happens to a lot of people is it leads to fear about their fear. Anxiety about their anxieties, or nerves about their nerves. It is not a sign that there's anything wrong with you. It is a sign that you are normal. You're a normal human being. It's our fight or flight response. That's it. So fixation with fear. And then costly mistake number one, the bigger player. Costly mistake number one, the bigger player, may be the biggest negative mindset player of all. And it is all about caustic self-judgments. Caustic or harsh self-judgments. Now, if you remember earlier, I told you I struggled big time with this one. My mind was constantly telling me I wasn't good enough, educated enough, talented enough. Are you being undermined by your mind at times with thoughts like, I'm no good at what I'm doing? I feel like an imposter. One of these days they're going to find out I'm not really that good at this. I'm inadequate, boring. Any moment now I'll screw it all up. I have more good news here. I'm the bearer of good news today. That's just the normal way the mind works. It just is. You see that those negative thoughts, if you're around me like Rich has been, you know I'm a positive and optimistic and upbeat guy. I read those books all the time. I listen to positive and upbeat material all the time. But have you ever noticed that try as you may, those negative thoughts still come back? They still come back. I don't have time to do this right now in the time that I have, but anybody that wants to come up to me afterwards, I will prove to you in 30 seconds or less that you can never really eliminate a thought. Those thoughts are still there. And you know when they pop up? They may be gone for years. But when you're out doing what you do in your life and you reveal a flaw that you have, anybody else have any flaws? Or a fault, or you trip up and you fail at something, or something doesn't go right, and your mind reminds you, hey, I have so many players and people that I've worked with and athletes that they think to themselves that they're not as good as they think they think they're not as good as they are. Excuse me. So the caustic self-judgments, that is the number one thing. Now, what do I do to help them with that, or help people with that? Well, it's back to the disconnecting. I talked about disconnection earlier. You need to disconnect from the perfectionist thoughts. Learning how to disconnect and be separate from your thoughts is a powerful psychological skill. Now, I have a lot of techniques that I help people on this. The thing is that everybody's different, aren't they? So there's no one technique that works for everybody. There's one I talk about in my book. I'll talk about a different one here that had worked for me and has been successful for a lot of people. But when you identify a negative thought, or what I call an unhelpful thought, What's an unhelpful thought? An unhelpful thought is one that, regardless of whether it's true or not, I can't tell you how many times somebody will say to me, yeah, but Todd, this negative thought I have about myself, it's true. And I say, well, I'm not going to argue with you whether it's true or not. The question is it helpful? Is it helpful for you to identify with that and dwell on it so that you can live according to your values and do the things that are most important to you in your life? Is it helpful? Well, inevitably, they all say, well, no, it's not helpful. Okay, so we have identified that unhelpful thought. When you identify that unhelpful thought, add this phrase in front of it. It's not on the sheet, so you can just write it down. I notice that I'm having the thought that. I notice that I'm having the thought that I'm no good. I notice that I'm having the thought that I'm inadequate at this. I notice that I'm having the thought, whatever it is, the one that bothers you most. For me, and for a lot of people I work with, they tell me that this one technique helped them feel liberated in terms of they could see their thoughts as separate from who they are, and that they no longer are letting their thoughts, these negative thoughts, define who they are or how they behave. Now, what's interesting as I kind of wrap it up here is that being a long-time baseball coach, when you want to get better at hitting or fielding ground balls or fly balls or any physical skill in any sport that you can think of, hucking around, what does it take to get better? Practice. Practice and repetition. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Repetition is the mother of skill and the key to learning. And it's the same with psychological skills. They take practice and application. All of this to help boost confidence and help you do the things that are most important to you. One other thing to pass out, do I have a couple more minutes? If you guys will pass these out for me as well, or kind of hand them around. Appreciate that. What you'll see on there, I brought some copies of my book today. I call it the It Factor Action Guide. You're going to see at the top, this is my collector's edition copy, because there was some miscommunication actually when they were going to print with my cover, and tired of having it and not using it was something that I came to a point in my life. Like, I was tired of having it and not using it. But that was actually kind of supposed to be on the back. It's called the It Factor Action Guide. So if you get a copy of my book today, you get the collector's edition copy of the cover, because it's changing to where it says the It Factor Action Guide at the top. But I have copies of my book today. If you get one here while I'm here today, $5 off the cover price plus free shipping. As I hand it to you. And I do confidence breakthrough sessions. And on my website, you will see them for $197. I have it down for, if you get a copy of my book, you can get a confidence breakthrough session with me for $125 off of that. Okay? And you can gift that to someone else if you like. I mean, I know a lot of you guys are very successful in what you do. Maybe you feel like, I'm as confident as I need to be in every area, but I do know some people that I work with, or I have people, members of my team, that could use a confidence breakthrough. You could gift it to them if you want. Okay? And then I have my confidence clinic that if at least four people want to participate in that, I'll come back and do that here, or wherever it would be convenient for you guys. And then the last thing that you'll see listed on there is on my website. I call it my Confidence That Sticks system. It's a 6-month coaching program where we spend an hour with each other every other week for 6 months, going through the whole, what I call Confidence That Sticks. So the last thing finally is that, how many have read Think and Grow Rich or heard of Napoleon Hill? Napoleon Hill wrote in Think and Grow Rich, taking inventory of all of your mental assets and liabilities, you will discover that your greatest weakness is a lack of self-confidence. But remember what we discussed earlier. We all are confident in certain things, but we may have an area where we need a confidence breakthrough. And if you identify that and you want to talk to me about it, I would be happy and honored to help you get that confidence breakthrough